Welcome back to Carneades.org. Today we are doing our 100th video here at Carneades.org. We're going to be looking at doubting I think, therefore I am. Cogito, ergo sum, Descartes' famous weapon against the skeptic. If you haven't checked out my previous videos that I did oh so long ago on the Cogito and Descartes' meditations up to this point, you might want to check those out now. But if you're up on that reading and you know what we're talking about, let's get started. So, I'm going to be doing 3 videos in this series. The first is going to be talking about the claim that thought implies existence, the therefore part of I think, therefore I am. Then we're going to be taking a look at the I think claim and seeing how we can doubt the fact that we're doubting. And finally, we'll take a look at how we can doubt our own existence, looking at the I am or I exist claim. This first video is actually going to be the easiest because Descartes himself was a little uneasy about the I think, therefore I am part. He even said in his meditations, only I think, I exist. He didn't include the therefore when he stated it there, because there's a number of problems that come out of that. I mentioned a couple in my last video on the Cogito. I'm going to mention those and a couple more again here. So, in the argument, I think, I exist, we need a couple more premises to make this work. We need, if I think, I must exist. And we need something called Modus Ponens, which allows us to conclude from if I think I must exist and I think that I exist. If we don't have those two claims, all we have are 2 separate statements, I think and I exist, which by the end of this video is exactly where we're going to be. So let's take a look. If I think I must exist, this statement seems significantly less powerful and much more dubitable than the statement I think, or the statement I exist. According to the Blackwell Guide to Descartes' Meditations, this is a purely conceptual claim about the relationship between thought and existence. So it's an assumption of an entirely different kind from the premise I think. It seems to be something that could be doubted much more easily. Descartes himself says, I do not thereby deny that one must first know what thought is, what existence is, and what certainty is, and, importantly, that it cannot happen what thinks does not exist. So, in order for this argument to work, something that thinks has to inherently exist. Now, most of us would say, well, of course, anything that thinks probably does exist. But the opposite of that, saying that something does think and doesn't exist, doesn't hit us as forcefully as saying that I'm not thinking when I'm thinking, or saying that I don't exist. It doesn't have the same kind of power. It doesn't seem to be one of those things that's like a logical contradiction, like saying a round square. It's one of those things that maybe could be false, that could be doubted. I have a bit of an argument or a bit of a counterexample that I'm not that happy with, and I don't think the argument should hinge on, but that I'm going to present to you just to kind of give you a little bit of the intuition of where we might be going with the possibility of something that thinks but doesn't exist. Imagine Sherlock Holmes. It wouldn't be nonsense. It wouldn't be crazy to say he was one of the great thinkers of the turn of the century. It seems that Sherlock Holmes did a lot of thinking throughout the course of the books. But we would also say that he doesn't exist. So he seems to both think and not exist. Like I said, I'm not terribly happy with this argument, and I don't think that the point should hinge on it. I think the important thing is that Descartes doesn't really have a strong way to support the claim, whatever thinks must exist. So, we should probably throw it out. Now, the other piece of the argument that's really important is something called Modus Ponens. That's the claim that P, if P then Q, we are allowed to conclude from those 2 statements, therefore Q. Basically, Modus Ponens says, if P and if P then Q, then Q. The problem here is that Descartes' evil deceiver from earlier can mess with our math and he can mess with our logic. Descartes told us that Descartes' evil demon could step in and make 2 plus 2 equal 5. He would mess with our logic when we were trying to do that problem, and he would make us believe that it equals 5. The evil deceiver doesn't actually change what 2 plus 2 equals. He just makes you think it equals something different. And the key is that perhaps 2 plus 2 actually always equaled 5 from the beginning. We just have always thought it equals 4 because every time we try to do the math, the evil deceiver steps in and messes us up. Now, what about P? P implies Q. If the evil deceiver can mess with our math, he should be able to mess with our logic as well. He could make us believe that this means R. Or perhaps it's always implied R. We just can't see it because the evil deceiver keeps messing with us every time we try to understand it. What it actually implies is R, but we think it implies Q. We think modus ponens works, but actually it doesn't. The evil deceiver doesn't change what it does. He just makes you think it implies something different. So he messes with your logic. So it seems that modus ponens, at the very least, is definitely dubitable. And for the argument, I think, therefore, I am to work. We need modus ponens. We need to conclude and use these lovely rules of logic that the evil deceiver has messed with. So it seems we are left only with I think and I exist, which on their own are quite powerful statements, but as we will see in the next couple of videos, are still dubitable. Watch this video and more at Carneades.org, and stay skeptical, everybody.